Welcome back to Kavanaugh's Corner. Today on the channel I'm going to be talking about a recent release that just came out on 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray here. And it's a movie that's kind of a guilty pleasure of mine. I like this movie a lot. It's definitely not as good as the original, but I love the sense of humor, the really dark sense of humor this movie has. I love the performances by, almost all the actors that are in this film. And that is, of course, RoboCop 2. And RoboCop 2 is a new release here from Scream Factory or Shout Factory. I was really excited for this when it was announced because I thought it could really benefit from the 4K format. And I gotta say, Shout Factory, Scream Factory, whatever, either one of them, it's the same company, but they usually do really good with their 4K transfers. The last couple ones that I've gotten from them have all been really, really good 4K transfers. The remasters have been just really solid. The picture quality, audio quality has been, top notch. So when I heard this was coming out, I was kind of surprised, honestly, because Arrow Video owns the rights to the original RoboCop, and that is a phenomenal 4K release. I have the steelbook of that, and if you want to see my review of that, I'll leave a little button up top so you can go watch that. But this one here, again, definitely not as good as the original, but I love Peter Weller as RoboCop. He just is such a fantastic actor. He's a very underrated actor, in my opinion. And his performance in this one, in the original as RoboCop, is just, he's so fantastic. I mean, he is the essence of why you watch the movie. He just does such a great job. And in this one here, you got Tom Noonan as the bad guy, Kane, and he's just so unlikable right from the get-go. He's like pure evil. And as the movie progresses, there are some really kind of wild moments that happen. RoboCop gets torn apart. Spoiler alerts for a movie that came out like in 1990. So this movie is as old as I am. But, again, I just enjoy this movie. There's a lot of great action sequences. It definitely doesn't have all the charm of the original, but they kept the sense of humor and that level of, like, ultra-violence that the first movie has. And I really enjoy it. Irvin Kershner directed this one, who also did Empire Strikes Back. And he's not a bad director at all. I think he's actually, he was pretty solid for most of his films. And he does a great job in this one. I mean, he really knows how to direct the action. There's a lot of awesome special effects in this. The stop motion animation in this movie is amazing. But today we're going to be talking about the picture quality, the audio quality, and the special features on here. Now, RoboCop 2 here is coming to us in an all-new 4K remaster here. It's a 4K scan from the original camera negative, which is pretty much the best you can ask for when you're remastering a film. It is a 4K native digital intermediate, so it's native 4K. It's the highest quality you can possibly get. And it also has Dolby Vision HDR on the 4K disc here. And just to show you, it is a 2-disc set. There's a 4K and a standard Blu-ray. Now the cool thing is, here's the 4K on this side and the standard Blu-ray on the other side there. It's too bad they didn't use this cover art with him coming through the wall. I would have loved to have that as the cover art for this, but the reflection of Kane as RoboCop 2 there in the helmet, I kind of dig that. There's also a special edition of this that has a special new artwork that was done. I was not able to get that, sadly, but I do like this artwork here. Now, both discs have the new 4K transfer. The standard Blu-ray, it does have that new 4K scan, but it is not in 4K. It's a 1080p disc, so just keep that in mind when you're watching it. But I watched this on the 4K disc, and we'll jump right into the review here so I can start talking about this picture quality. So the Dolby Vision on this disc, I have to say, is absolutely phenomenal. I love the look of this movie. I had noticed it in previous iterations, and I have the previous Blu-ray that was released a few years back, which was not a bad Blu-ray at all, and from Scream Factory. And I gotta say, you know, this new 4K upgrade here goes a long way for RoboCop 2. Right from the get-go, I mean, right from the start of the film, when they're doing that commercial where the guy gets electrocuted and John Glover there is in front of the car in the commercial, the Magnavolt or whatever it's called. It's absolutely ridiculous. But right from that opening scene, and they show Detroit in just ruins all over again. You know, the guy robs the old lady, then the two women rob the guy, and then, you know, it just goes right into the gun store there being robbed, and RoboCop shows up, and there's a big shootout. I mean, right from the beginning, the picture quality difference is extraordinarily noticeable. RoboCop looks incredible, and I can't say enough what a huge change it is to watch this on 4K versus Blu-ray. Earlier iterations of this film that I've seen, including the previous Blu-ray that I mentioned from Scream Factory or Shout Factory, whatever it was, the suit now really looks amazing. I mean, RoboCop looks just so gorgeous. And I know it's a weird thing to say that he looks gorgeous, but they definitely changed the suit going from the first one to this one. And I've noticed, I always thought it was a little weird that his suit looked like way more pearlescent in previous versions of this film that I've seen, but now it's like glaringly obvious that they changed the color of the suit. I mean, it went from a very muted kind of light blue to this oil slick, almost bluish purple pearlescent kind of look now, and it really jumps out at you with that Dolby Vision. Some other things I noticed with that Dolby Vision, detail level is sky high now in this. Not just with RoboCop's suit, but you know, you can see little crazy strands of hair coming off of Kane in some of the close-ups. In one particular scene where RoboCop is he's in the car driving up to a scene, you can actually notice that the sticker, the OCP, you know, Detroit Police sticker, is actually coming off of the car door on the bottom. It's not quite on there right. And little things like that I have never noticed before, but picture quality as a whole is just, I mean, it's basically perfect. The colors now are so much more vibrant than they were before. It really has brought the life out of this movie. There are some very bright and vivid colors in this film, and they all just jump out at you. There are quite a few explosions that are blindingly bright. On the opposite scale of that, the black levels on this disc are also much better than any other version of this film that I have seen. The nighttime scenes, especially the opening kind of action scene, there's not too many nighttime scenes in this film, but the opening and the closing scene at the end just look fantastic. There's also one scene in particular where Kane, as RoboCop 2, is kind of going and massacring all these former associates of his, and the mayor is like scurrying along trying to hide from this behemoth. And that scene now looks so much better. Previous iterations, it was actually kind of hard to see certain things that were happening in the scene, but now it's really, really clear. It's crystal clear now. And the shots of Kane when he turns those four big spotlights on, they really, really look amazing now. And the other big thing, and this is not something I usually say when it comes to older films, and it kills me to call this an older film because I also was born in 1990, so I came out around the same time as this film. But the special effects in this movie look really good, and I was not expecting them to look as good as they looked. Phil Tippett did a lot of the stop motion work for this film and the first one, and They are just amazing to look at. This big fight scene at the end between Kane and RoboCop just is like it's incredible to see the amount of miniature work that was done and just the level of detail that they were able to pull off in those scenes. That sequence is just amazing to watch. RoboCop gets slammed around by Kane, and you can actually see the dents that his head leaves in these different pipes and walls and stuff. You know, Kane climbing up the elevator shaft has always been an image that stuck with me from this film, and that shot now looks so amazing. I will say that there is some grain in the picture. The grain has been mitigated, but has not been removed at all. And it is a medium grain basically throughout the film. It never interfered with the picture quality as a whole when those stop motion scenes come up, or when they're using stop motion combined with live action. You can kind of see there's a little bit of extra grain there during some of those shots, but for the most part, the movie looks amazing from start to finish, and this is one of the best 4K transfers I have seen so far this year. It's definitely in the top 10 so far. I was very, very impressed with this. Now, in terms of audio quality, this does have a DTS HD 5.1 master audio track, and it also includes a DTS HD 2.0 track. Now, the funny thing is, in the menu for the 4K disc, the stereo track is actually listed as a new audio track. And I watched the film mostly with the 5.1, but that stereo track did sound very, very nice. It was crystal clear. The 5.1 is pretty much the exact same audio mix that we had on the previous Blu-ray release. So there's really nothing to, report there. But I gotta say, it sounded outstanding. I watched like 95% of the movie with that 5.1, and the dialogue was crystal clear. The sound effects, and there are a lot of sound effects in this film. I mean, literally every time RoboCop takes a single step, there's a sound effect. And all of it was just perfect. I mean, everything was perfectly placed. The music sounded great. The score, I cannot ever remember this gentleman's name. Leonard Rosenman did the score for RoboCop 2, and it is a little bit different from Basil Polidoris' score from the original film. It's a very different theme. Similar sounding, but in the end, it's different. It's a completely different theme. But yeah, I like it. I actually kind of like the score to this one. I prefer the one from the original, but the score for this one works for this movie, and it sounded great in that 5.1 track. It's just a bummer we didn't get like a Dolby Atmos or a DTS-X for this one, but it still sounds fantastic. I really had a great time with this. Now, in terms of special features, almost all the special features are on the secondary Blu-ray disc. They're all carryovers from the previous release of RoboCop 2, and they are pretty great. There is an audio commentary with author and CG supervisor Paul M. Salmon on the 4K disc, along with a commentary from the makers of RoboDoc, which is the making of the original RoboCop series. And I have to say, if you have not seen that documentary series, it's a little over 4.5 hours, almost 5 hours long, but it has got to be the greatest making of documentary of a film I have ever seen. I mean, they literally interviewed every human being that is still alive that had something to do with that movie, with the original RoboCop. I highly, highly recommend you watch it. And those guys did do an audio commentary a few years ago for RoboCop 2 here. So, very good stuff. I recommend you listen to that audio commentary. It's fantastic. And the secondary disc has the same audio commentaries to go along with the film. There's also a featurette called Corporate Wars, The Making of RoboCop 2, which is a nice little behind-the-scenes making of little documentary there. There's also a featurette called Machine Parts, the FX of RoboCop 2. Goes into the different things that they did for this movie, the in-camera effects, the stop motion, things like that. That's an interesting watch. And there's also a bunch of other little featurettes called Robo Fabricator, OCP Declassified, adapting Frank Miller's RoboCop 2. There's some trailers and TV spots and a little image gallery on there as well. So there's a lot of special features. Like I said, sadly, they are all holdovers from the other Blu-ray that I mentioned that came out a few years ago, but they are great special features, very high quality stuff, and I'm glad that they included all of them on the set here. What did I think overall of RoboCop 2? I loved this 4K disc. It was fantastic. The image quality is just off the charts. The audio quality was fantastic. Again, too bad we didn't get a Dolby Atmos or a DTS:X. And if you are a purist, there is that new stereo track as well. That's probably going to be pretty close to the original theatrical audio. So, tons of special features. I mean, this is a must-buy for me. If you like this film, you are going to love this 4K of RoboCop 2. I highly, highly recommend it. Again, I don't like it as much as the original, but I always have a good time watching this movie. And Peter Weller is just a badass. I love that guy. He is so phenomenal in this movie. And if you want to pick up RoboCop 2 on Amazon, I'll leave a link in the description below. If you use that link, it does help me out here on the channel. And if you're a fan of physical media in general, please consider subscribing to my channel here. I'm doing at least one review of somewhat new releases every week. This one took me a little bit to get, but I'm glad I picked it up. Most of these movies I buy with my own money, so any kind of assistance is greatly, greatly appreciated. Hitting that subscribe button means a lot to me, and a lot of you did very recently, and I was just kind of blown away by seeing the outpouring of support you guys have given me here. I love doing this. I am a lover of film and physical media. I think it's something we need to cherish and appreciate. And until next time, I wish you guys all the very best. Keep collecting, stay safe, and take it easy.